Hello, this is Elizabeth Ortel, and for the next half hour, I'll be reading from Buffalo Rising on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Waterfront. Patience, persistence, and a pocket park on Niagara Street. I still remember the day that the former Curtis Malting building at 1318 Niagara Street was demolished in 2006. Today, that site is a vacant lot, filled with limitless potential. In recent years, Niagara Street is done an about-face, and it has transitioned from a sleepy street to one that is seeing major real estate and business investments. That said, there's still plenty of opportunity at hand to ensure that Niagara Street lives up to its full potential. In a recent survey, I posted that Niagara Street's connection to the water is imperative, as it has been disconnected from Skajaqua Creek and the Niagara River. That is unfortunate, especially for a street called Niagara Street that was once so intertwined with its surrounding bodies of water. While we figure out how to better connect Niagara Street to its surrounding waterways, we must also examine other opportunities at hand. The vacant parcel at 1318 Niagara Street is one of those opportunities. In a recent newsletter, Vision Niagara had this to say about the future of the parcel. For nearly 2 decades, the vacant lot at 1318 Niagara Street has reflected the challenges of Buffalo's industrial past and the persistence of its neighbors. After demolition of the former Curtis Malting building in 2006, the site was left contaminated with pentachlorophenol, PCP. Fenced off and unused, it attracted dumping and graffiti, becoming a visible barrier to revitalization along Niagara Street. Neighbors, including Vision Niagara, pressed the city to address the problem. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, oversaw cleanup and issued a record of decision in 2020, determining the site could be safely used by the public. Because full removal of contaminants was not feasible, the property was capped and covered with 2 feet of clean soil, allowing public access while limiting future use to passive recreation. With environmental clearance in place, Vision Niagara worked with Councilmember David Rivera to secure a zoning change permitting park use. Funding for design followed, and community stakeholders collaborated throughout the pandemic to imagine a pocket park for the site. Additional environmental reviews, lost samples, required easements, and intra-agency approvals slowed progress. As of early 2026, final environmental documents are nearing completion. Once city staffing transitions are finalized, community engagement around the pocket park will resume. In 2006, it was the demolition of the former Curtis Malting building, beginning acquisition through tax foreclosure. 2006 to 2019, the site remains vacant and contaminated. Neighbors raise concerns about safety and blight. In 2019, the zoning changed to DOG to allow passive recreation, following advocacy by Vision Niagara and Councilmember David Rivera. 2020, New York State DEC issues a record of decision confirming the site is safe for public use with a capped remedy. Assembly member Sean Ryan secures $250,000 for the park design. In 2020 to 2021, community stakeholders collaborate on park concepts during pandemic-era Zoom meetings. The city commits $70,000 plus toward design. 2022 to 2024, Additional environmental sampling, retesting, and EPA review required. 2025, environmental easement approved by Common Council. Federal shutdown delays final review. 2026, final easement and site management plan nearing completion. Community engagement to resume. Environment section of Buffalo Rising. The Land Conservancy permanently protects bush property, part of a critical Western New York Wildway linkage. The Western New York Conservancy continues to gain ground in its mission to fortify the Western New York Wildway, a landscape-scale conservation initiative that aims to protect and connect the largest of our region's remaining tracts of wildlife habitat. The Land Conservancy recently announced the purchase of an 86-acre bush property, a beautiful hardwood forest in Holland. This purchase seals the deal for its initiative to permanently protect all of the 4 for 24 projects in southern Erie County, which equates to 155 acres of land that will not be accessible to the public. The other 3 land acquisitions are known as Paul, Concord, Kaiser, Concord, Wales Ravine, Wales. We've made tremendous progress with our Western New York Wildway, said Marissa Ridgey, Executive Director of the Land Conservancy. We've protected many important forests in recent years, including Mossy Point, the College Lodge Forest, Janet Galogly Allegheny Wildlands, and Floating Fen. But since only a small fraction of land in Western New York Wildway linkages is conserved, I'm thrilled to have protected the 4 for 24 properties. They represent a hopeful step toward creating the corridors of connectivity that wildlife requires to survive. Linkages between large core forest areas ensure that animals and plants are able to thrive without being restricted to unsustainable surroundings. Therefore, the Land Conservancy has identified 48 linkages in Western New York, totaling approximately 360,000 acres. These lands must be preserved in order to allow animals and plants to roam freely. At this point in time, just 1.3% of land found in these critical linkages has been protected, according to the Land Conservancy. Each of these wins is significant. The protection of bush property is yet another integral part of this incredibly important conservation effort. About Bush and the 4 for 24 projects. Bush, Wales, 86 acres. The Bush property, located along Hunters Creek Road in the town of Wales, is a significant parcel within a priority linkage of the Western New York Wildway. Bush contains critical water features, including small streams and vernal pools, and is situated near headwaters that contributes to Hunters Creek. The property was donated to the Land Conservancy as part of the previous owner's will. Wales Ravine, Wales, 26 acres. Wales Ravine, located on the east side of Hunters Creek Road in South Wales, is strategically located within a wildlife linkage zone. Entirely forested, the terrain slopes upward from west to east and supports significant wildlife habitat. Intermittent streams that contribute to Hunters Creek flow through ravines and gullies and eventually into Lake Erie. These deep ravines feature gravel and bedrock streambeds with small waterfalls and cascades that support diverse microhabitats. Robert G. Kaiser Preserve, Concord, 22 acres. This shady forest provides excellent habitat for nesting and migratory birds. It lies entirely within the headwaters of 18 Mile Creek, part of the eastern Lake Erie Basin in Concord. The Kaiser Preserve was part of Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper's Water Quality Improvement Program. Protecting this property allows its forests to continue providing groundwater recharge and stormwater filtration. These functions benefit not only the property itself, but help communities downstream by providing clean drinking water and limiting the potential for future floods. Paul, Concord, 22 acres. 18 Mile Creek, the second largest tributary to Lake Erie in New York State, runs through the center of the Paul property. As such, it provides the same groundwater recharge and storm water filtration as the Kaiser Preserve. Buffalo Niagara Waterkeepers WQIP grant paid a portion of the purchase and restoration. Restoration began last year with the planting of 100 trees and the treatment of 13 acres of invasive species. A Life in Motion. From Black Rock to Canisius, Dr. Carl Kozlowski shapes Buffalo and beyond. Carl Kozlowski doesn't begin with credentials, he begins with Buffalo. I always preface when I'm talking to an audience or a class, he said, I start by telling them I grew up in the Black Rock section of the city. Polish neighborhood, Polish masses, 70s and 80s. I was the first child in my family to go to public school. For some reason, they sent me to a magnet school program, Campus East, at the time. I was put on a bus at 3 years old. It was predominantly an African-American neighborhood. My class was a melting pot. East Side, North Buffalo, South Buffalo, Black Rock, K through 8 was a formative experience. I embraced Buffalo. I knew people from all parts of it. As a kid, you have no knowledge of social or economic status, civil rights. You just have this kid next to you, your friend. As to why his parents made that choice, Kozlowski laughs. I still don't know exactly. I think it was a tuition or monetary decision. But my parents were very progressive. They never had an issue with my friends. His parents' own story reads like a Buffalo tale. They met at the Showplace Theater. His mother at the concession stand, his father as a ticket usher when they were 14 and 15. His father joined the Navy at 18 or 19, then returned to Buffalo, attended trade school to become a jeweler, and built a life as an entrepreneur. Kozlowski describes him as quiet, silent type. His mother, grandmother upstairs, and the family home formed the bedrock of his upbringing. One friendship left a lasting mark. Kozlowski's best friend was from pre-K through undergrad, grew up on Ivy Street and Best Avenue on the east side. He was black, Kozlowski was white and Polish. We became very close, taking instrument lessons together, he says. We were in the band in high school. My parents would take me to his neighborhood, and I would be the only white kid there. The best lesson I've learned is that we are all in this together. Who you are, where you're from, we're all in the same emotion. These early experiences shaped Kozlowski's perspective as an associate dean and professor. That friendship helped me realize that everyone has a story to tell, a story of where they want to go, he says. I tell my students that now. They come to me saying, I need to change my major, I need to withdraw, I need to go to another school. I tell them, give yourself 24 hours. If I can't do that, give yourself 10 deep breaths. Slower respiration slows your heart, reduces blood pressure, and helps you approach the situation with a clearer head. Life changes. Decisions can always be revisited. When my wife and I first got married, we had a 10-minute rule. When we got worked up, we separated and came back with a calmer perspective. It's physiology in action, the same principle I teach students about managing life choices or even performing under pressure. Kozlowski is an experienced higher education leader and kinesiology and exercise science professor with a history of collaboration and innovation, skilled in leadership, program development, budget management, health professions, athletic training, strength and conditioning, injury prevention, fitness training, sports medicine, and health promotion. He brings a comprehensive approach to teaching and research. He holds a PhD in rehabilitation science, focusing on exercise as medicine from the State University of New York at Buffalo. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Rising on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Construction Watch, Hispanic Heritage Cultural Center. The Hispanic Cultural Institute is getting framed at the northwest corner of Niagara and Hudson Streets. The three-story, 37,000 square feet, $30 million building is expected to be complete late this year. The Institute, developed by the Hispanic Heritage Council of Western New York, will include a museum and art gallery and a performing arts center, which is planned to be the new home of the Races Theater Company. The theater will host various productions, panels, and speaker series, and will be available to the community to rent. The theater will serve the community as a multifunctional assembly space and will be open to local schools, churches, and the other clubs and organizations for community performances. The building will also include a cafe, gift shop, media center, learning labs, and administrative spaces. Next Level Chef. Bratz Hill chef Darian Bryan to compete on Season 5 of Next Level Chef. In advance of Larkinville and Bratz Hill chef Darian Bryan competing on Season 5 of Next Level Chef. Buffalo State University has released a short video that reminds us why we're rooting for him. Bryan, an alumnus of Buffalo State, will be a contestant on the show, which airs on Fox Thursday, January 29th at 8 p.m. Viewers can also stream the next day on Hulu. Chef Bryan will be competing for a $250,000 prize, which would be a huge win for the restaurateur in all of Buffalo. It won't be long before he comes face-to-face with show guest host Gordon Ramsay, Nyesha Arrington, and Richard Blais, who will determine whether Bryan has got what it takes to be a next-level chef. Get ready to enter a bidding war in these 10 housing markets this year. The Northeast made up more than half of the top hottest metros for 2026. Housing in the Buffalo market continues to impress, as bidding wars are anticipated to continue well into the future, according to a recent article in Business Insider. The news publication published this article after Zillow ranked Buffalo as the hottest housing market again. Meanwhile, other news sources are citing Buffalo as being a climate haven, which could result in the perfect storm for future housing initiatives. While housing values are below the other top housing markets, that affordability is being used to the city's advantage. At this point, more than ever, investors and home builders should concentrate on building more housing on the city's east side, where vacant properties are abundant, and instead of erecting masses of cheaply built housing, there should be a plan in place that reevaluates the wants and needs of the neighborhoods and the city as a whole. Affordability remains a key factor for most when deciding where to live, but other elements also drive those decisions. Zillow analyzed the nation's 50 most populous metros to determine which ones were the most in demand. Buffalo Exchange Plaza, located at 1210 Broadway, is being touted as Buffalo's newest mini-mall. Currently, there is a sign-up underway for 30 available vendor spaces within the building. The organizers are seeking small business owners, creators, entrepreneurs, and anyone else that has been looking to operate among a community of like-minded movers and shakers. In order to ensure the professional nature of the endeavor, marketers are asked to have a business license and/or a vendor permit. Once set up, they must maintain a clean and professional marketplace area and must be committed to community growth. Interested vendors are encouraged to stop by at the 1210 Broadway from Friday to Sunday. If successful, Broadway and the East Side could really benefit from such a cooperative type of endeavor. 1210 Broadway is a beautiful historic building that is located just down the street from the Broadway Market. It's ideal for a collective of this nature, especially if the right mix of vendors express an interest in setting up. Different from the rest, exploring the art and legacy of A.P. Gorney. The exhibition showcases the work of A.P. Anthony Peter Gorney, a Buffalo-born artist whose career defies easy categorization. Known nationally as a master printmaker, Gorney is also a photographer, sculptor, bookmaker, and performance artist. He is a graduate of SUNY Buffalo State University and Yale University's School of Art, with works in over 50 prominent collections, including the Vatican Library, the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum, and the Library of Commerce. A.P. Gorney, different from the rest, is on view January 29th through March 31st, 2026, in the Rare Book Room at Central Library. Admission is free and registration is not required. Resistance is a living practice. Know Your Rights training marks the lead up to Black History Month ICE Resistance Toolkit. This week, Mayor Sean Ryan issued his first executive order, formally prohibiting the use of City of Buffalo personnel or resources for federal civil immigration enforcement. Also this week, Colored Girls Bike 2 announced that they have co-authored an activist toolkit, How Suppression of the Black Radical Tradition Gave Rise to the Era of ICE Terror, launching February 2026 for Black History Month, in collaboration with several Buffalo-based Black-led organizations, including Liberation for One, Liberation for All, LOLA, and Dismantling Oppressive Patterns for Empowerment, DOPE Collective. A Know Your Rights training will be held on January 30th from 6 to 7:30 p.m., focused on the Black experience in the United States and the impacts of ICE and state violence. A virtual option is also available. In addition to the training, the toolkit will officially launch during Black History Month as part of a commitment to honoring the Black radical tradition not only as history, but as a living political practice necessary for survival, resistance, and liberation today. Jolanda Hill, founder and executive director of Colored Girls Bike 2, says as recent developments involving rampant, unchecked ICE encounters escalate, so does the need for heightened community discussions and far-reaching actions. Adding, the toolkit was developed in the wake of the murders of Keith Porter Jr., Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and others, and to honor all Black and brown people who have been killed as a result of state-sanctioned violence and white supremacist enforcement. Hill wants readers to know that this toolkit is for everyone. We want people to use it to learn not only about ICE and how it is impacting our neighbors in our country, but also about how ICE functions as an extension of the state-sanctioned violence that Black and brown communities have experienced for generations. Hill hopes this toolkit reminds people as they protest and fight back against ICE to also honor, respect, and study the Black radical tradition, and to understand that until Black people are free, no one is free. For us, these murders are not isolated tragedies. They are political portals calling people in to deepen their understanding of how such violence is the direct result of the white supremacist and imperial foundations of the United States, foundations that have long terrorized Black communities and people across the global majority. Trinity Knox, 467 Virginia Street. Here's a real estate rare opportunity indeed. 467 Virginia Street, a magnificent French chateau-style home, is now on the market, listed at $749,000. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 plus bath, 6,723 square feet home, is considered to be one of the most sensitively preserved homes of this nature in all of Buffalo. Stunningly intricate on the outside and lavishly adorned on the inside, this is one of those houses that manages to captivate the imagination in ways that no other house does. Now, this home, constructed in 1894 for Mr. Alec F. Hall, a prominent photographer at the time, can be yours. The home was built in 1894 by F.H. Loverin as a photography studio and later sold to a portrait photographer, Howard Beach. This 2-story townhouse has Moorish architect details with original hand-painted ceilings and walls, ornate oak woodwork, hardwood floors throughout, recently all refinished, all original light fixtures, many new leaded glass windows, wainscoting, exquisite fireplaces, charming entryway. First floor features living room, library with built-ins and gas fireplace, full bath and laundry, private outdoor space, townhouse side rentable for added income. Townhouse features living room, second living room, dining room, kitchen, half bath, and grand staircase to additional bedrooms. It is very grand looking. Beautiful woodwork and leaded glass windows, floor to ceiling. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Rising. We read from Buffalo Rising on Fridays at 8:30 a.m. Your reader has been Elizabeth Ortel. Thank you for listening.
You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service with broadcast studios at 1199 Harlem Road in Cheektowaga. Radio readings are broadcast 24 hours a day, every day, to area people who are blind or have a print disability. This year, our agency marks almost 40 years on the air with more than 300,000 hours of radio readings to those without sight. Our broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. The Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service website is nfradioreading.org. For more information, call 716-821-5555. Good morning. Welcome to another broadcast day in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, a private not-for-profit organization. As always, please feel free to contact us with your comments, suggestions, and any questions you may have. Our phone number here is area code 716-821-5555. Our agency website is nfradioreading.org, where all of the information on how to contact us with those comments, suggestions, and questions can be found. As I said, our phone number is 716-821-5555. And please stay with us. Our Reading the Buffalo News will be coming up in just a moment.
The following program